So the question comes up, why do people molest children? And can we help people who molest children? What's the difference between a child molester and a pedophile? Are there profiles for child molesters or a lack of profiles? As far as the profiles go, I'll start with that one. People typically believe there are no profiles, that we cannot say who is a child molester or a pedophile and who isn't. And this is based on the notion that people molest whether they're black, white, Asian, whether they're young, old, rich, poor. So we see that it crosses all racial, all socioeconomic boundaries. However, that doesn't mean that we don't have profiles. We absolutely do have profiles. One of the best profiles that can epitomize this is the profile of what an adolescent child molester is like, meaning a child, an adolescent, who's molesting other children. And we see different profiles from one extreme to the other. One extreme is the naive experimenter. This is the child who doesn't know what they're doing is wrong. This is the child who maybe is playing with another kid and they start exploring sexuality, and when they are asked, why did you do this? Why did you have sex with that other child? The child will say, well, we're in love and we're going to get married, and isn't this what married couples do? Isn't this what adults do when they love each other? They're truly naive. They don't know something is wrong here. And treatment is very, very successful with them. Usually all we have to do is educate them. Tell them about child molestation. Tell them about boundaries around sexuality. And then they will say, oh, okay, I get it. And they will never molest again. Pretty simple. On the far extreme of that is what we call the antisocial personality disorder child molester. This is a child who will rape a kid one day, rob a bank the next day, shoot a cop the day after. Doesn't matter. This is the child who's basically saying F you to society, who feels like society is out to get them, has cheated them out of everything, and they deserve whatever they want, and they'll take whatever they want. They have no consideration for anybody else. These are the ones that typically we will say are lost, that we are not going to be able to help. These are the ones that are so disturbed, and it's so ingrained in them that when we educate them about it, if we can educate them about it, they go through the motions, go, yeah. They pass the test that we give them. However, they don't mean a word they're saying. This is the kind of child molester that comes into my office, court ordered, must be, by court order, in therapy with me for 2 years, and for 2 years, they're bullshitting the whole way through. Their rap sheet usually comes with them, all the court documents, and it shows all the evidence. And I ask them, explain this to me. And they come up with some story. No, Mr. Braveman, I'm innocent. Absolutely, I did none of that. It was a false accusation. And I ask them, well, then why did you go to prison? And they tell me, well, the attorney convinced me that I didn't have a very strong case of proving my innocence, and that I better plead guilty to this, otherwise it'll be worse. That's not the case. These are truly liars, thieves. These are the ones that we really need to watch out for, because there is not going to be any help for them. Then in between, we have some other profiles that may surprise people. We have one in which the child is developmentally disabled, or in other words, what most people would call mentally retarded. This is the child with low intelligence who just really doesn't know, like the naive experimenter, that something is wrong with what they're doing. However, it's even worse for them because when we explain it to them, they don't get it. I've worked a lot with this population, and what I have found is we have to spend about 2 years of going over a sex education program with them repeatedly. Go over it and over it and over it again for them to finally get it. We have to make behavioral changes for them. We have to intervene so that they don't have access to other people to molest. And they may get it, but certainly at first they don't understand. Something similar is also the one who is mentally ill. So mental illness usually is not considered a defense. However, under rare occasions, it actually is the reason why somebody may molest or rape. What this typically looks like is somebody who has a bipolar disorder, and when they go into what we call a full-blown manic episode, where they can't sleep, they can't slow down, they feel like they're invincible, nothing will stop them. This period of time is known for reckless behavior, maybe gambling, drinking, relocating. This is the kind of person who, if as an adult, might go into a bar and deliberately try to pick up on somebody with their 10-foot Marine boyfriend right there next to them and get into a fight and get arrested. During this phase, they don't know what they're doing, and their self-control mechanisms in their brain are shut down. Typically what happens to them is they get arrested, they wind up in a psychiatric unit, and 2 or 3 days later, after we stabilize them on medication, they may come to and wonder, why am I here? What happened the last few days? And when we tell them what they did, they have no recollection. They really, really don't know. Then another profile is the gangbanger. The gangbanger is typically somebody who would not molest on their own, would not commit a rape on their own. However, to get into a gang or to stay in the gang, they must do this, either as an initiation rite or to show that they are with the hood. They're in there. They would not, everybody else is doing it, there's no way they're going to turn their back on the hood. They're going to do whatever they're told to do. We take them out of there, and when we take them out of there, we can work with them. People think, well, they're hopeless. They're not. Usually they're very successful. We also see the child molester who is the advantagist. This is a person who is like you and me, who had no intention to ever molest a kid. They're not a gangbanger, they're not mentally ill or anything like that. However, all of a sudden something falls into their lap. So perhaps maybe it is a man who is in a second marriage and his wife is gone and they had a fight and he's at home lying on the couch watching TV, maybe drowning his sorrows in alcohol, and the wife's daughter or his stepdaughter comes in, sits down with him, puts his head on her head on his lap, and says, "Can I watch TV with you?" Sure, no problem. And the child molester at that point is in the making, because he didn't mean to, but his hand winds up somewhere. Ooh, discovers, wow, that feels good. All of a sudden, maybe he's caught, it's reported to the authorities, and this kind of child molester has a very, very good chance of success.